I sat down to create this video, and in all honesty, I didn't know where to start. Because what I want to share with you all is really hard. I've shared snippets over previous videos, but this was honestly the hardest chapter of my life. It was a chapter of burnout, the chapter of complete exhaustion. And this happened in 2017. You know, I had, leading up to that point in October, for maybe a year and a half, my immune system just kept on getting hammered, you know, and it felt like I was getting every cold. I was finding it hard to lose weight. I was very inflamed. And then in October, I remember sitting down, I was painting that morning, and I went to watch a movie, The Negotiator. God, I found it hard to ever watch that movie again after this. Anyway, I was watching The Negotiator, having a cup of turmeric tea, and I found myself, my third eye tingling, so I knew spirit was there trying to get my attention. And I get this, guys, like, I ignored it. Usually I tune in, but I ignored it because I wanted to watch the movie. But it kept on. It would not leave me alone. I figured if I ignored it, it would go away. But it didn't go away. It became more intense. So I tuned in, and I found myself in space. And basically, this light, this being appeared, and I couldn't tell if it was a male or female, but this being appeared to me and basically said for me to choose. And then my awareness, my consciousness was directed to the television set and what I had been watching at the time. Although my eyes were not opened, I could clearly see the lounge room and I could see the Negotiator plane. And she said, choose. It was basically that or light. Now, the reason I think I got to that point was I believe I was a little bit addicted to movies. In fact, I was addicted to popcorn and movies. And it was my way of winding down, just wanting to check out of this reality. Now, the problem was there's nothing wrong in watching a movie and doing all of that. But the problem was, for me, was I'd be working, then because I just wanted to chill out and disconnect, I would go put a Netflix on. And but because the different series that I'd been watching at the time was so riveting, each episode would leave me hanging, and I had to watch the next episode. And it became this thing where I just kept on, you know, needing to watch the next episode and the next episode. And there were days the sun would be out. It was a glorious day. And I'd look outside with this inner knowing, I need to spend more time outside. I need to be earthing, getting some vitamin D, but I couldn't pull myself away from what it was I was watching. And I think I remember what I was watching at the time. It was Stranger Things. And I couldn't seem to stop. But I wanted to, but I couldn't. So this is the lead up, okay, to October. Me watching a lot of Netflix. And even though I knew I should be getting outside and doing all the things I used to do, I got into this rut where because I was working so much and I was doing so much, I was, in the time I did have off, I was in front of the box. And although at first I thought it'd be just for a little while, temporary, and then I'll get back on track, this led to a feeling of comfortability in what I was doing until it came to a point it was hard for me to stop what I was doing. I was putting on weight, becoming more inflamed, wanting just to relax. And because now I'm starting to feel a little bit more tired and exhausted, I felt it was the only thing I could do is sit down in front of the box just to relax and unwind. And I didn't even want to paint or create. I wasn't inspired. And if you think about it, what's inspiration? In spirit. I wasn't in spirit. I grew more tired. I was catching every cold. My immune system was completely just not great. And anyway, again, back to October, when this being said, choose. Guys, I knew I had a problem, because when you're in this state, you can't fib, you can't, it's like the truth just comes out of you. You can't improvise, you can't. And in that moment, it wasn't just a quick light. I choose light. This is when I knew I had a problem. I hesitated, and I looked at the television set, and I looked back at this being of light. Looked back and I looked back. Who does that? Who looks at a freaking box and looks at this being of light needing to make a choice like that? But this was the truth that was coming out of me at that particular time. Like, me now, it's like, how could I even, stop to consider and weigh my options? It doesn't make sense. And anyway, finally, I looked at this being of light, and I said, I choose the light. And this being disappeared, and I felt myself, because already I was in this other realm outside of my body, but I literally felt this pull for the rest of my spirit to come out of my body. And in that moment, I began to panic a little bit. And so I brought myself out of that meditative state. But it didn't end there. I couldn't get out of this meditative state. Like, although my eyes were open, something was taking place within my body. It was going numb. And I literally felt this coolness going throughout my body. And I lay there on the couch thinking, this is my time. And so I called my partner at the time, because I couldn't move. And he called my neighbor over, called the ambulance, and I was taken to hospital. It took me a long time to heal from that incident. Once I was let go from the hospital, because I couldn't find anything, but once I was let go, discharged, I was exhausted. Guys, I had not experienced exhaustion on this level ever. It's hard to describe this feeling of tiredness, because you go to bed early, you automatically think, you'll have the energy as you usually do, but it was like there was a blanket of tiredness that could not leave me. And that can be very disheartening when you feel exhausted. It's crippling, because you're so exhausted, it's hard to even get out of bed. I mean, it was a huge, it was a huge achievement for me just to walk downstairs, and an even bigger achievement to walk outside into my garden, because that's how tired I was. Weeks passed and I was still exhausted. I was still tired, and I couldn't make sense of what was going on with me. Why did this happen? Yeah, okay, my immune system was a bit down, I was a little bit shot, but why did this happen? Why did this take place? And I had a lot of time to reflect on my life, on my choices in that last year and a half. And I asked Spirit, I need assistance. What's going on? Because, guys, I was so disheartened. It got to a point where my friends would call me and ask me how am I feeling, and I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear them ask me that question, because I didn't feel great. And I was just tired, I was just constantly tired. And anyway, the answers that I was looking for came to me in a dream. Everything that I needed to know, I got the answers to in a dream. So if maybe you were, in the same boat, you've been overworking, you're tired, maybe your immune system isn't as strong, maybe you've had a burnout, perhaps this dream will also help you on your journey. So anyway, in this dream, I find myself in dark waters, and I open my eyes, and there are all these souls around me as orbs. But this is the thing, guys, they were all various gradients of gray, and they looked anguished. They were suffering. Their faces looked like they were in pain, and they were not happy. And with every crash of the wave, they were literally at the mercy of these waves, and they'd be okay for a little while, and the wave would come and it would crash to them, and they would suffer even more. It's like they had no control. They had no control over their lives. And I knew I should not be in here. I should not be in this dark water. What am I doing here? And I looked at myself, and I looked at my color, and I had all the colors of the rainbow, but it was like my light was diminishing fast. It was fading. And I knew I had to get out. I had to get out of this dark water. And guys, just above the water, I could see this light. Not the light of the sun. It was an artificial light. And it was making this electrical buzzing noise, like bzzz. I know it sounds crazy, but that was the light that was governing this dark water. I knew I had to get out. I should not be in here. But I couldn't, because as much as I wanted to get out, there was a comfortability and a rocking of the water. It was like it was lulling me to sleep. It was lulling me into complacency, comfortability. And as much as I wanted to stop, as much as I wanted to get out, I couldn't. And I remember in that moment just feeling like, please help me get out. I need to get out. And then I suddenly felt this propelling force of energy literally push me out of this dark water onto the land, which was a huge contrast. And I landed on the land, and I was so exhausted from the experience, it was hard for me to even get up. But slowly, I did regain my energy, and I started to get up, and I started to look around. And unlike the dark waters with the various gradients of gray in terms of souls, this land was vivid. It was so bright in color. And there were souls walking past me, heading towards this mountain, and they were colorful. They were rainbows. So each soul was its own rainbow body heading towards that mountain. But this is the thing. Most of the souls that were heading towards the mountain, they diverted. They got distracted. They saw something, and they all turned left, except for a few that continued up that mountain. So I followed them, and I looked to see where they were going. They were all heading towards that dark water, but you see, they couldn't see the dark water. All they saw was the glittering sand, because all along this artificial sand, it wasn't even real sand, but all across, scattered on this artificial sand, was various treasures and distractions, from technological devices to games and jewelry. But there was just so many distractions of every sort. It's like walking into a candy store, and different items or distractions appealed to different souls. Each one had their own flavor that lured them in like bait to a fish, and souls were heading towards that sand, and they would immerse themselves in whatever toy, whatever treasure they picked up for themselves. They would completely lose themselves in it. But what they didn't realize, as they were lost in the moment of whatever it was they were holding, they did not see the sand was moving towards the dark waters, because it moved very slowly, and they didn't see it coming. And they continued with their distractions until they found themselves in the dark water. And now they're in the dark water. It's harder to stop doing what they're doing, and it's getting a little bit harder to get out. And I saw these souls, because they were still very much immersed in their distractive toy, whatever it was. I saw the waters rise, and I saw them losing their rainbow body color. This water was sucking the color out of them, and they were becoming various gradients of gray until they were completely submerged in this water, and they were at the mercy of the crashing waves. You see, when we are in full color, we have control of our lives, in the sense we can create our reality. We have the will to do it. We have the energy and the light to do it, to be able to manifest. We have that power. That is our light. And the stronger our light, the stronger our ability to attract, to manifest, to create a life of choice. But when we start to lose that color, and guys, we lose that color in ways that we don't realize. We lose our color through addictions, through various addictive behaviors, and it could be anything, although mine seemed so innocent. Oh, I'm addicted to popcorn. Oh, I'm addicted to Netflix. I didn't see it as an addiction at the time. I just saw it as, okay, I'm watching a lot here, but I was losing my color because I was so absorbed. And I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop watching. I just couldn't stop. It was like being in that dark body of water. I wanted to stop, but I couldn't. I didn't have the discipline or the will. And anyway, sorry, back to the dream. When I saw this, I realized what had been happening in my life. And I looked at the mountain and I decided that I was going to stay focused. Oh boy, I know what it's like going down that path. You completely lose yourself. And in losing yourself, you lose your health, you lose your inspiration. You lose everything, guys. You feel dull, like a walking zombie. That's what it feels like. You just feel like you're just existing and you don't have that inspiration, you don't have that spark, you don't have that fire. And I've been there and I've felt that. And I know exactly what that feels like. So in this dream state, I looked at the mountain and I made that decision that I was going to climb that mountain. And I started to climb that mountain. And, I was focused and I was determined. Anyway, I wake up from that dream state with full understanding and awareness of what I had gone through and what I needed to do to be able to really fully reclaim my power and raise my vibrational light. So I started, I canceled Netflix, no more TV. I had a complete television detox. I hardly spent time on my phone. I didn't go near my computer. I really just needed a year to recalibrate. I needed a year to ground, to get more light, more sun. So every day it was hard because remember, I'm still exhausted, but I would stretch and I would make my way outside and I would just lie in the sun and for me personally, this was one of the best ways that I felt helped me recharge my batteries was sun, was light. And I would lie there for ages, just absorbing the light of the sun. I would speak to the plants. I would sit directly on the earth, and I did this daily. I started to consume every color of the rainbow in terms of natural foods. Red fruits and vegetables for the, root chakra, and orange for the sacral, and lemon, lots of lemon water, guys, for the solar plexus, and so forth. So I was eating every color of the rainbow. I was getting light. I was drinking lots of good water. I was moving my body. I was meditating. And it worked. I recharged my batteries. But I recharged it so much, I felt supercharged in a great way that for years afterwards, and my inspiration came back. So once I was charged up again, my rainbow body was alight once more. I was inspired once more to paint. So you feel alive. You feel that fire burning once again within you. And so I was charged so much from doing all that I just mentioned that although many people were getting sick around me, my immunity stayed strong. I could be lying next to someone who was terribly ill and I wouldn't get anything. I wouldn't catch anything. And I started to notice this, and I started to notice that I wasn't getting colds anymore. My immunity was so strong. I was so charged. And yeah, guys, so it's so important that we maintain the vibrancy and light of our rainbow body. And this is the thing, guys, before this all happened, while my immunity was low and I was getting colds, this is before burnout, I had a vision where Spirit told me They said to me one day that although my light was all active in terms of my chakras, I needed to turn the volume up. I should have listened. I didn't listen. I continued on that path of self-destruction, of just constantly watching different episodes because I couldn't stop. Oh, and eating a lot of chocolate at the same time. Yeah, I was eating a lot of bad foods because I was trying to energize myself, and I was looking to quick fixes for energy, and chocolate was my quick fix. Basically, I was just doing all the things that were not healthy for my body. I learned a lot, guys. I learned a lot. So if you are feeling tired and exhausted, guys, get outside, get more sun. Work on recharging your batteries by turning the volume up on your chakras, on your energy centers in your body. Eating light-filled foods, immersing yourself with color, meditating on light. Because when our light is strong, our vibration is strong. And when we are strong, we are shielded from a lot of things out there, but when we become vulnerable and susceptible to the external is when our light is diminished, when our rainbow bodies, turn down. Because, guys, we don't want to get to that point of gray, various gradients of gray, because when we lose our color, we lose our power to create our own life. Anyway, guys, this was my experience, and look, I hope it inspires you on your journey of balance, guys. Grounding, earthing, light, and organic, natural. A lot of times we spend most of our time in front of artificial light than we do organic light. And although at the time we may think it's harmless, it's a slow process. It's like that frog. You put that frog in hot water, will jump out. But when you put that frog in cold water and you slowly turn up the heat, the frog boils. And that's the thing. We don't realize it's not great for us to be around so much artificial things and technology and lights until it's too late, until we feel really tired. So yeah, get outside and reconnect to the pulse of the earth. It's the best thing we can do right now during this time. Anyway, sorry this video has gone way too long, but I hope you guys all enjoy the rest of your day.